Hello, and welcome to the Diz Explorers podcast, where each week we explore different areas of the vast Disney universe. This week, we are on episode number 20, so yay us. It's awesome, and thank everybody for listening along and keeping with us for all 20 episodes and the mini-sodes that have been rolling out, which there will be more to come of those. So this week we're a little light. We've got couple troopers on vacation and a couple troopers who just like running so much that they're too tired at the end of the day. So tonight we have Adrian.
Hello.
And we have the Duchess Jessica.
Hello.
And we have Milford.
Hello.
And I am RJ. Melanie is still away on her excursion down to Walt Disney World and her cruise, learning all about the cruise industry for her website, and so we will definitely be interested in hearing about all her adventures when she returns next week. And like I said, Crystal is part of this run club that she's doing. She's training for the Walt Disney World full marathon in January, so she's been doing extensive training, trying to build her stamina and get miles and miles and miles under her feet so she can have a good time at the Disney World Marathon in January. So I'm sure we'll speak to her next week as well. So you're just stuck with us for this week. So just a few things that happened the past few days, and then we'll get on to our main topic. The first thing is most people who are annual pass members have probably heard through social media and emails that went out. They put the percentage of the discount back up to 20% as it was years ago for merchandise and I believe certain food products, restaurants and stuff, which is awesome news for the price that you pay for these annual passes. So I'm glad that they have done that. Hopefully it stays. I'm sure we'll be getting a rate increase soon, as happens every year, but 20% is nice when you're, even if you're just buying a t-shirt, but if you're getting some nicer items, any percentage off helps. So just wanted to mention that. I don't want to go into great detail in it. You can find that out. If you're an annual pass member, they sent out emails with all the details and the dates and what's included and everything else. So, and the other thing is, which is super awesome to me, being my pirate fan self, is the trailer was released for the 5th installment of the Pirates of the Caribbean series, which I saw early this morning or late last night for the first time, I'm not sure. And it's funny because a fellow on Twitter that I'm friends with sent out a tweet to me and 5 other pirates, as he called us, on Twitter, and the heading was, he said, "Here, this is for some of my favorite pirates," and then he put the link for the video of the trailer, and then he put a secondary tweet on top of that mentioning myself and 4 other guys on Twitter who are we're big pirate and rum fans. So I thought that was kind of cool. Anybody who gives a shout out to me on Twitter, I get all excited about it. So anyway, the trailer I thought was great. Doesn't reveal much, which is fine with me. That's the whole point of the trailer. I'm digging the new bad guy, Salazar. He seems like he's pretty mean and cutthroat, kind of like Blackbeard was, which I think is awesome, and as the way pirates should be, even though I do realize they are meant to be family films and they're not going to get an R rating. I'm not looking for blood and gore, but scare factor and the creepiness of these characters is always nice. I was into it. I'm looking forward to other ones leaking and more of the plot coming out as we approach the release date, which I believe is Memorial Day weekend of 2017. So that was really cool. I was happy about that, and I'll probably watch it many, many more times before another one comes out. And with that, the only other thing park-wise that came out, the Muppets Great Moments in History featuring the Muppets little show debuted yesterday at the Magic Kingdom in the Liberty Square section. So all the normal bloggers and vloggers were there. I happened to catch WDW News Today's Periscope of it. I did not watch the whole thing, only because I didn't want to. I watched about 5-8 minutes of it, and I liked what I saw. It seemed totally Muppets. The humor was great. The facts were good. The town crier guy that I guess is kind of the lead in the show was funny. Sam Eagle was great, trying to preserve the dignity of everything. And then you have the peanut gallery being I saw Kermit, Fozzie, Miss Piggy, and Gonzo. I'm not sure if any others appear in the show later on. Like I said, I only watched the first few minutes or so. So I'm looking forward to catching that live when I'm back there in April. Did any of you guys catch any of that or happen to see or read anything about it?
I did. It looks pretty interesting, and I actually can't wait to see it in 2 weeks when I'm down there. And I did post a link to one of them in our Facebook page, so if anybody wants to go visit and watch that, there's a link on our page to one of the videos that's out there.
Cool. Yep. Definitely, and as far as what I saw, the crowd was into it. I heard a lot of laughing, a lot of clapping. So hopefully it has staying power, and it's something that crowds can enjoy. And there's so much material they can use. I don't know if they're switching, if the shows are going to be different themes every time, or if, I gotta imagine there's tons of history stuff they can use from that time period. So hopefully they've come up with a few different versions of it and not just running the same one multiple times a day.
Yeah, I believe the deal was they were going to do something either every day or something every time they did the show throughout the day. So today's shows might be the same as tomorrow's, but at least they were different shows throughout the day, or they may move them day to day. I don't know that anybody knows that for sure.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, even if it's a random thing, I'm sure you're going to get repeats once in a while, but as long as it's not the same thing all day long. So
exactly.
Right. Cool. Well, we'll find out. I'm sure they have a plan. They usually do. And we'll just see how that transpires over time. For tonight's topic, we are talking kind of a two-stage thing. We're going to go around the room and discuss attractions, a show of some sort, or just a general park experience anywhere on any Disney property that we have not experienced between all of us. Contrary to popular belief, as many times as I have been there, I have not done it all or seen it all. And I believe that's true with many of the members of this podcast. So we're just going to kind of go around and speak about those, and if it's reasons why, if it's something we're ever going to try, or if it's just something that we're okay just kind of walking by every time, or happy with somebody else telling us how it is. So tonight I'd like to start with Jessica over on the West Coast.
Okay, so obviously I have a lot more experience with Disneyland than I do Disney World, but I will say that the one thing I didn't go on and I chose not to that I really regretted was the Rock and Roller Coaster. And the reason I didn't go on it was because the line was really long and I was too scared to go by myself, so I wanted my family to come with me, so we said forget it. But now I really regret it, and if I go back, that's like the first thing I want to do. I'm still mad at myself that I didn't just go in the single rider line.
Especially since there's rumor that it's going to be rethemed.
I know. I'm really mad at myself, but I'm sure I will go back and I will go on it, and I'll be good. So in Disneyland, one thing that I've never done, which actually shocks a lot of people, is I have never done an official character meet and greet, ever. Like, I've met a few characters, but in Disneyland, I'm not sure if this is true in the Magic Kingdom, but in Disneyland, a lot of them just kind of roam around. So, like, I once chased Peter Pan pretty much all the way around the Matterhorn and then hung out with him on a bench and just talked for a while. And
I can totally see that.
Right? Yeah. I ran through the castle, through the drawbridge, up and around toward Tomorrow. I was full on chasing him. It was really kind of embarrassing. But and I've met Tigger and Pooh because in Critter Country you can kind of walk through the glen and just sort of meet them. But I've never actually stood in a line like to get an autograph and talk to a character. And I've never met a princess because of that, because in Disneyland, that's really the only way you can. Like, I waved to Ariel once, and she waved back, and I thought I was going to die. I was so excited, but I've never talked to them. So that's something that I've never done. And I kind of think it's more special if you have, like, a little kid with you, because I'm cool with if I see them in the parade or if I see them walk by, I think that's really cool, but I don't have that much desire to go talk to them, to be perfectly honest. So I'm not sure if that's something that I'll do or not. Part of the problem is there's no fast pass for any of that, and it just eats up so much of your day, especially for the princesses, because they're all in the Fantasy Fair in Disneyland, which is right off of Main Street, and the line, I think the shortest I've ever seen it is 2 hours to meet the princesses.
Wow.
So that's just not really something I'm willing to do. There are sometimes places that you can find them, like it's called Snow White's Grotto next to the castle, and a random princess will show up there sometime, and then you can just get in a quick line and meet them, and it's not as big of an ordeal, but they don't announce that ahead of time, and I've never had the luck of getting there right when she shows up, so the line for that's always really long too. So I don't know. That's still on my list of I might do it. I haven't like sworn it off or anything, but I just have other priorities, I guess, while I'm there.
I don't know. I'm with you. I don't do face characters when I don't have my kids. I don't mind doing like Winnie Pooh, like you were talking about, like that. But face characters, I don't know. It's like all of a sudden there's this burden of conversation, and Disney World does, right?
I don't know what to say to them.
I don't either. And Disney, I mean, they do a great job, all of their characters, of breaking the ice and talking to you and kind of being the one to initiate all that stuff. But it's still kind of awkward. So I'll just not do that. But when I have my kids, I can shove them and go, here, talk to the kids. You know?
When I was in college, I actually auditioned to be a princess in the park. And I think that was where I failed, was they had you go in a room and you just had to talk to them. And I didn't know what to say. So I'm pretty sure they were like, okay, you're not going to work.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well,
and then, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, the only thing I was going to say is I think that it's so impressive to me how they're able to just stay in character talking to anybody, because they just, I don't know how, it seems easy, but if you actually try to do it, like when I was sitting in that room and you have to talk to them as the character, you have to think about everything you say as you say it. And they just, I mean, I know they do it all day long, but they make it so natural. It's just so impressive to me.
And how it's individualized to each person that they meet. Yeah. You can be in line and see 4 or 5 different meet and greets before it's your turn, and every single interaction is different.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I am beyond impressed. Not to mention that these, I mean, especially for the princesses, they're like 19, 20 years old. I didn't have that sort of poise or confidence or creativity in me at 19 or 20 years old. It's impressive.
No, definitely not. Well, a lot of them it's like a union. It's like an actors union. So I know they still need to be up and up on their Disney stuff, but they're not just plucked off the street. They're trained to some degree, but to keep that smile on all day, and because the face characters, they're inside most of the time except for the princesses, so they're going longer shifts without breaks. And they're like you said, like Jessica said, it is awkward. Like I joked when we were there 2 weeks ago about, because the lines were ridiculously short for like Anna and Elsa when we were walking around Epcot, and I was like, oh, Anna and Elsa's only like 15 minutes, and my wife looked at me and I was a little sad. I was like, well, I still want to go meet him even though I don't have my kids. I don't know. I'm just a dork, I guess. I would wait. If the lines are short, I would wait in line for all of them. We didn't even go and see Mickey on this trip. The stuff that we didn't do, I think, kind of shocked me. Like when I got home and realized, like, oh, wait a minute. We didn't do this. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. And it just was like, it seemed odd that, you went to Disney World and I didn't, go and see Mickey Mouse. But like you said, not having the kids with us, it wasn't something that really crossed our mind most of the time.
Yeah, for sure. And then in terms of something that I always do, there's 2 for me. One is I always have to go on Pirates of the Caribbean because it's my favorite ride. And it's one of the only rides that I could go on like 5 or 6 times in a day and not be like, okay, I need to move on to something else. I could just keep going and going because I just love it so much. And then the other one that I have to do every single time is the Sleeping Beauty Castle walkthrough, which I don't think there's anything like that in Disney World. Am I right? There's no like castle attraction?
No, you can walk through the center of it, but there used to be a really cool store in there, but now it's the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique and the check-in for Cinderella's Royal Table or whatever the restaurant is called now. But there's a beautiful mosaic on one of the walls, but other than that, you're walking under the castle. There's nothing else really to see or do.
Okay, so in Sleeping Beauty's castle, because it's much, much smaller and they don't have space for a restaurant or a shop or anything, you walk up in through the castle, through the stone hallways, and then there's all of these windows, and each window has a different diorama. And then in front of that window with the diorama is an illuminated manuscript, like a super old-fashioned book that gives you basically context for the window. So as you walk through, it tells you the story of Sleeping Beauty. And there's little gags, like there's a door that if you knock, Maleficent's henchmen will peek up at you, and then you can see her. There's a flash of lightning, and you see her shadow creep around the corner. So it's really cute, and I just think that the dioramas are really pretty, and that's one of my favorite Disney movies. So it doesn't take a long time. There's never a line because people don't know about it. So that's just the other thing that I have to do every time.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool.
All right, cool. Righty, Adrian?
Okay, I have several things that I've never done, actually. So I broke them down into the different parks in Disney World. In Magic Kingdom, I have never been on the Carousel of Progress.
Oh, my God.
Ever.
What?
Sacrilege.
Even I've done that.
Ugh. Dishonor. Dishonor on your family. Dishonor on your cow. Jeez.
I know. I'm sorry. It'll be remedied eventually. Let's see. I also wrote down some places I've never eaten that are apparently like big deals because food is my thing, right? In Magic Kingdom, I've never eaten at Liberty Tree Tavern, which everybody talks about like has the best comfort food on the planet. So it's on the bucket list. In Animal Kingdom, I've never ridden Cali River Rapids.
Oh.
Because I have no desire to get wet.
Well then, yeah, you're better not. There's no way you're not getting wet on that one.
Yeah, it's the same reason I avoided Splash Mountain for years. But you don't get that wet on Splash Mountain. But so eventually, I think when my kids are older, we'll all like as a family just get on and just take the plunge.
Yep.
Pun there, but because I want to experience someday, but I hate the thought of walking around somewhere wet, and I hate dragging more stuff with me into a park than I have to. So I don't want to bring changes of clothes for 4 people.
You do it last.
Yeah. But then if you're in transportation, you have to wait in a line for a bus wet. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, I got you. I got you.
Hollywood Studios, I am a bad nerd because the last few times we've been, I have never experienced the Star Wars fireworks, which makes me very upset, especially after hearing your trip report and about how awesome they were. And I've never seen Beauty and the Beast, the stage show.
Oh, that's a good show.
Yeah, I want to. And I've never eaten at the Brown Derby. I wrote that down too. We did the little Brown Derby lounge last time we were there and like had some desserts and stuff. But
you can't get the Cobb salad out there.
Exactly.
Yep.
So yeah, another thing that's on my food bucket list. And then in Epcot, food, like I've only eaten in like 10% of the restaurants there because there's 1,000 of them. And I never rode Maelstrom before it became Frozen Ever After. And now I've never ridden Frozen Ever After because it was broken down. So I don't know what that is about me.
Jeez.
But I know. It's bad. Really and honestly, when I was writing some of these down, I was like, I know I'm going to get some crap for these. Especially Carousel of Progress. I knew that was coming. Okay, so things that I always do, whether it's planned or not. In Magic Kingdom, because my children are obsessed, I ride Barnstormer every time. Like, we're not allowed to enter that park and not ride Barnstormer at least 5 times. Like, it can't just be once. It's got to be at least 5. And for some reason, we always end up at the Friar's Nook to get a snack. I guess because we spend so much time in Fantasyland that we always end up there getting macaroni and cheese.
They got good snacks there.
It is good. It's good stuff. In Animal Kingdom, we always ride Everest, and that is planned. And then we always end up at that little bar snack place right beside it. I wrote it down. It's the Thirsty River Bar. Yeah.
Yep. That's fairly new.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Because every time we go over there, that's where we end up. And we get some sort of frozen concoction because it's always hot. Hollywood Studios, we don't leave without doing Rock and Roller Coaster. I'm a giant Aerosmith fan. Like my dad is a huge rock and roll guy. So I was raised on that stuff. So it was a have to for me. And then as soon as my husband, decided that he liked roller coasters, we now ride it. I mean, the last time we were there, I think we rode it 3 or 4 times each. And then we always end up at the ABC commissary to get a snack there. They have good cupcakes. Food is important to me, y'all.
Absolutely.
And then finally, in Epcot, we always ride Test Track. My daughter, as soon as she was tall enough for it, it was a must-do for her, which excites me because I like that she likes thrill rides. and we always eat at Via Napoli. I love Via Napoli.
Mm-hmm.
That pizza is amazing.
Sure is.
And then I was only going to mention one other thing that was like just like a general experience. Whenever we always end up at Disney Springs, and for some reason, I don't know why, we always go to T-Rex. There are 1,007 restaurants, and we always end up at T-Rex. I don't know why.
It's a fun place. I mean, there's a bunch of them all over the place. Same thing like Rainforest. There's a Rainforest 40 minutes, I think, for me in a mall. But I guess I've never eaten in the Rainforest down there. But we ate at the T-Rex last time we were there with friends and kids and stuff like that. And I mean, it's cool. It was easy. I think it was because the food is easy for everybody.
Yeah.
You don't have to search through the menu for people who are either picky eaters or kids who are only going to get chicken nuggets or hot dogs anyway. So
yeah,
it's just kind of a no-brainer meal with some cool entertainment every 15 minutes.
Exactly. So that's my list until I think of something else while y'all are talking.
Nice. All right, Mr. Milford.
Well, I'm sitting here contemplating, and the only ride I can come up with that I have never ridden, and you guys are all going to kill me for it, is the Astro Orbiters.
Oh, my Lord.
I hadn't done that before July.
Ridden the Astro Orbiters. And mostly because the line is always so stinking long for it.
Yeah.
It's
a long load and unload procedure on that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then getting people up there and that's crazy. And I don't think my kids have even ridden it, so I'm in good company with that, I guess. As far as attractions at other parks, till recently we had not done the Flight of Wonder thing at Animal Kingdom.
Oh, that's a good show.
So that's the thing back on the back road between Asia and Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And we always walked by it, and the lady's always standing out there. Come on, come watch our show, because I guess nobody goes and sees that show. I guess now it's very popular, and I actually sat down and sat through it, and I have to agree that was pretty cool. I mean, I got pictures of the eagle and the hawk and stuff flying like 2 feet over my head, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess for must-dos, I have to do Expedition Everest every trip. I have to get to Animal Kingdom and do that ride. I have to try and get the Legend of the Lion King show, because I love that show. Just the lights and the performers in that show are just phenomenal.
It's so good.
Yes.
And then, I always have to get my standards. I have to get to Magic Kingdom and get the Haunted Mansion in. Because I love the Haunted Mansion. And then I could probably go on for days about food, so I think that we've probably got to save that for another trip. But
we need a whole episode about food, I think.
Multiple food episodes.
I guess my favorite thing to stop that I have to get is a frozen Coke in Hollywood Studios if the cart is open. Because there's a frozen Coke stand back on the back side of the one shopping building. And that's pretty much all I can think of.
All right. Very good. All right, so I guess it's my turn. In listening to everybody's things, I don't think there's anything that I can get blasted for on here. I can say the only thing that I believe that I have not ridden, other than stuff that was closed before I was old enough to ride it, is the Primeval Whirl in Animal Kingdom. Mostly because a lot of times in its early days when we were there, it was always broken down. It had numerous troubles at the beginning, and it was always doing repairs on it. And I can't do ridiculous spinny things like that, so that's the other reason why I will probably never ride it. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to take one for the team because my children are now big enough to ride it, but they won't go on it by themselves. So that's going to be, when they decide they want to do it, that's going to be an end-of-the-day attraction, so then I can at least just crawl back to the hotel room and lay in bed for the rest of the evening.
So can you do the teacups, or do those make you queasy?
That I've never been on. So there's another one I've never been on. No, I can't do it. My wife would always take my kids on it because she had a much better tolerance of that. I ruined myself at a young age with that stuff. I remember going to a local carnival where they call them the monkey cages. It's like the Star Wheel where it spins, and then it has the cages that you can spin around. So I went on. This kid took me on it, and he just spun the thing 100 miles an hour the whole entire time of the ride. And I got off and got myself sick, and then just never wanted to know anything about spinny rides again. But my father also has like a motion sickness. He can't go on like the carousel. It messes with him. But he's okay on like Thunder Mountain and Splash Mountain. So I don't know what triggers it, but it's just it's a spinny thing and an up and down thing. I'm glad I rode Tower of Terror when it first opened and for many years, but that's another one I can't go on anymore just because I can't take the randomness of it. If I get caught on one of those 6 or 7 drop things, it's just it's not happy. I couldn't think of anything else over the years that I had not gone on. Milford mentioned the Astro Orbiter. I was on it when it was the Starjets, and probably was many years till I went on it again as the Astro Orbiters. Now it's actually a really cool ride to go on. I mean, it's a spinner ride. There's nothing fancy about it, but you get some great views of the Magic Kingdom. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You're on top of everything, so you get some great views on that. Over at Epcot and the studios, there's nothing I haven't been on. There's probably a few shows I haven't experienced. Like I don't remember seeing older stuff that was like before Beauty and the Beast. There was a Hunchback of Notre Dame stage show. I don't remember ever sitting and watching that. That's probably one of my least favorite movies, so I never bothered with that. As far as for experiences that I've never done that I'd like to do is in Epcot during the holidays. I've never seen the candlelight processional, and I would like to, because it seems like it's a really nice thing to go and watch. The story and the chorus behind it. I like music. I like live entertainment a lot. So one of these years I'll get down there and I'll wait it out, or do one of the dinner packages and check that show out, because everybody I've known that have seen it, my parents have seen it, my uncle, and I know Milford, you've gone, and so I know it's a really awesome thing to see live. So I'll get there and experience that one of these times.
Yeah, I haven't done that either.
No, okay. I mean, you got to want to do it, because like you said about eating up time, your night is pretty much shot.
Right.
If you're not doing a dinner package, you got to wait in line with.
Yeah.
And people queue up for that thing, when the first show is like at 5:30 or something like that, and people are queuing up from lunchtime.
Yep.
So, I mean, you could stand and watch, but I don't feel that that's the same experience as sitting down inside the amphitheater and getting the full experience of everything.
Right, definitely.
So.
And it's pretty amazing because the choir's made up from cast members.
Yes.
So they're volunteer cast members. They don't get paid anything extra for doing that show, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
And that show is very old. I don't want to go into a history lesson here, but they used to do that at the Magic Kingdom, out in front of the train station.
Yep.
Inside the park, obviously, but that's where that originated until late 90s when they moved it over to Epcot, and then it grew, and they only did it, I think, the 2 weeks before Christmas or the week before Christmas, and it was not it was nothing as what it is now. And they moved it over to Epcot, and it grew and expanded, and now it's 3 shows a day from Thanksgiving till Christmas Eve, or right through New Year's. I'm not sure when they run it, but it's definitely grown in the years since they've done it. And I believe they do a version in Disneyland as well. Right, Jessica?
Of the candlelight thing?
Something, yeah, I know it's not the exact same, but they do. Or they used to.
I don't think they did one last year, because I don't remember seeing one. But they do special like holiday stuff, but I don't remember anything specific about like a candle themed. I could be missing it though.
They just call it the candlelight processional. I believe they walk in holding candle. Like I said, I've never seen it. I don't know, but it's basically the reading of the what is it, Milford?
It's the Christmas. It's the Christ.
That's right.
If they do it, I've never seen it. They have Santa come in, but I don't know about any reading or anything. I've never heard anything about that.
Okay. I know. I thought I had read or heard somewhere that they did something similar or some other type of holiday thing at Disneyland, and it's like one of the longest running shows in, history. Like,
I bet they do.
So, anyway, I'm getting way off track, but so I've never done that. And as far as for stuff that I have to do every time, I'm going to take Adrian's approach here and go in park order, because it's just easier. Magic Kingdom, I consider the castle an attraction and a show. I mean, obviously, you can't miss it when you walk down Main Street, but some people either go to the right or to the left, depending on where they go. I enjoy walking under it. It's not as elaborate, and there's nothing really to see like in Disneyland, but there's this really beautiful mosaic of Prince Charming putting the Cinderella's shoe on, and there used to be a really awesome gift shop in there that used to sell medieval type stuff. They had like swords and daggers and letter openers that were in the shape of swords, which I'm staring at the one that I have now that I'm glad I bought because it was expensive stuff that not a lot of people bought, and eventually it turned into the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, which is just a cash machine for them, for little girls. So there's not much to look at in there, but it's fun to walk through and say you walked through the castle. I have to do the People Mover every time. That's probably hands down one of my favorite attractions, even though it's just a simple ride around Tomorrowland, but Tomorrowland's my favorite land.
It's
so
the best.
I
love People Mover.
I love it, and it's usually multiple times a trip. Just because it's nice. It's just nice to go and relax. Even if the line is somewhat long, it's constantly moving. As long as they don't have to stop the thing, it's really never more than 10, 15 minutes. Unless it's Christmas Day. But always got to catch that. Like Milford said, and everybody else has said, Pirates and Haunted Mansion. Those are just, it's not a complete trip unless you hit some of those classics. Small World is another big one for me. I really love that attraction. I always did, and I did more once I started bringing my kids. Just watching them look at everything in there and take it all in, because my kids were so young when they were in the parks their first time. My son was 11 months, and the other two were 6 months. So watching them, just their eyes just glazed over, just taking it all in was just an experience I'll never forget as being a parent, because that's just awesome when you see them just enamored by everything that's going on around them. So, and whether they remember it or not, you never know, until they get older, but it's just experiencing that with them is pretty cool. So as far as in Epcot, I gotta hit Spaceship Earth every time I go. Also, that's another multiple time thing. I just love that attraction. It's been a favorite of mine since the park opened, and the first time I was there. I take with a grain of salt what they did to the end of it. I get, computers are the way of the future, but I think they could have thought a little more and actually had other stuff to look at on the descent back down after that. But it is what it is. It's still fun. I still play around and do different scenarios. So that's really cool. I guess Soarin' is on that list now because of all the other attractions there. I mean, none of them are really must-dos anymore, unfortunately. Test Track used to be. I mean, I enjoy it, but I liked the old campy story better than what's in there now. Making a fuel-efficient car just doesn't do it for me. It's still a fun ride, but as I've said on here and multiple times, I like being told a story, and I just feel there's no story there anymore. So I'll leave that alone. As far as the other two parks, there's nothing I really have to do in the studios. It's always been my least favorite park. I enjoy the Great Movie Ride. I think I like the little montage movie at the end more than anything else, just because I like seeing all the funny clips and everything all together done at once. Animal Kingdom, I do enjoy going on the safari, but I don't know that it's a must-do. Like there's nothing that's must-do as far as any of those attraction-wise in those things. Food, like I said, we can go on a whole other tangent about food, but I gotta have a Mickey bar. I gotta have some popcorn, even though it's Pop Secret now. It used to be Orville Redenbacher's back in the day. Is what they used to use, I believe. So now they have Pop Secret stickers on all the popcorn carts because that's what they're using. But
it all comes from Indiana, so I'm happy.
Oh, there you go. So restaurants, if I could, there'd be ones I'd eat at every time, but it just can't because of depending on the situation. I really enjoy over at Epcot, like Adrian said, there's so many restaurants, but I enjoy the Mexico Pavilion, any of them. So even if it's just grabbing some guacamole and chips from the quick service on the outside, that's cool for me. Coral Reef Restaurant is one of my favorite ones, but it's not everybody else.
I like that one too.
I just love that restaurant. I mean, I'm not a huge seafood eater, but there's a few things I do get on that menu that they do really, really well. And just the ambiance it's just a beautiful restaurant. And looking out at the ocean, the background music is nice. It's just a chill place, man. It's hidden away. People know about it. It's always busy, but it's not the hustle and bustle of a normal, Disney restaurant, at least, in my eyes. That's a pretty cool place. in the studios wasn't much of a place, but the little High Octane bar that was back behind near the backlot tour, I always liked going there because it had a great selection of different beers, and they made great cocktails and concoctions during the holidays, during the now gone Osborne Lights. So that was always a favorite place of mine to hit. That's not there anymore.
I know.
Food for others and, booze for me.
Yeah, the one about the Osborne Lights kind of bums me out because I'm going to miss that a lot.
Yeah, I'm glad I caught that last Thanksgiving. I'm really, really glad I did, because looking back and speaking with other people on Twitter recently about it, and just going since the first time they started that, where it was just walking through the old backlots, and they basically just decorated like the Golden Girls house and the Empty Nest house, and had like that one Christmas tree, and then the angels that were hanging up in that backlot area. That was kind of all it was. There was no music, there was no snowflakes, it was just lights. Some blinked, some didn't, and it turned into this redonkulous display, hidden Mickeys and hidden Star Wars stuff, and the baby dinosaur from that dinosaur show, and Purple Cat, and music. And so it was like sensory overload, but it was really, really cool to go and check that out.
I guess that's another thing I can say. I never did. I never saw the Osborne Lights, which is very sad.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there's been rumors and stuff that it may end up either. People have said Disney Springs. I don't think it would belong down there. I think it would be great if they put it in Epcot. There's this big trellis they put up on the bridge between Future World and World Showcase. Well, they used to be. They used to be, right. They don't do it anymore. And it was called Lights of Winter. Lights of Winter, right. See, Milford knows. But anyway, that dated back a long time ago. And it was similar to the Osborne Lights, but not with the crazy rock and roll music and stuff and Trans-Siberian Orchestra. It was very more classically themed music, Christmas music. It was like 15-minute shows, and they blinked and went on and off, and it was just really cool. You stood under it, you watched it, and it was a pretty cool thing. I'm pretty sure they can incorporate something either in that area or somewhere else to do something. I know they can't.
Yeah.
I know they can't do it in the magnitude because they don't have the area, but who knows when they get everything done if it gets put back in any sort of area. You never know. I'm sure they can incorporate something into a Toy Story theme or a Star Wars theme, or who knows.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the new Pandora Land will have some sort of bioluminescent ridiculous show with their glowing plants or something like that. Who knows?
Or maybe they'll just put barges on the river in Animal Kingdom and put it there, since they can't seem to get a show running there.
Yeah, no, there's still rumors. I just heard something about that.
It's supposed to start this week.
This week, yeah. Yep. That's what I had heard too. So
I'm hopeful it'll be running when I get there.
Pretty sure my parents are too. They're going third week of November, so yeah, I'm sure they'd be happy if it was running then too. That's basically my list of must-dos, and pretty much everything is a must-do. But
it's whatever we can fit in.
It's whatever we can fit in. But there are those definite staples that that everybody has that they have to do when they get there. There's some great live entertainment that I do actually like to see too. Now I know Disneyland is known and great for a lot of their live entertainment that they have walking around the Magic Kingdom that's constant throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And I know Magic Kingdom here does also. You have the Dapper Dans, you have the Main Street Philharmonic. My favorite thing to watch is the Janitors over in Epcot. I mean, it's just really cool to me. I'm a drummer as well as a hobby, so it's really great for me to see those guys. And I always like to stop and chat with one or two of them afterwards if they're not running off in a hurry, just because it's cool to chat with cast members, and especially guys who do stuff that you do as a hobby. And it's just cool to just say hello and shake hands and tell them good job. And I know in Disneyland, Jessica, there's tons of like New Orleans style bands that are always out and about that I've heard live recordings of them, but I'd love to see that stuff live if I can ever get out there.
Oh yeah, the Fantasyland, Frontierland, and New Orleans Square each have their own themed band that kind of goes around during different times of the day. Like the Fantasyland one's called the Pearly Band, so they play like really dramatic renditions of like Disney classic songs that kind of have like that old-timey twist. And then the New Orleans Square Band is a pirate band. They're called like the Bootstrappers. And then there's the Frontier. So it's just really fun because any land you walk into, there's something different going on. So it's just kind of exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And there's like a straight up jazz band too, right?
Yeah.
That plays in like a Dixieland band?
Yeah, there are a couple of different bands that play. There's a stage in New Orleans Square. There's a restaurant called the French Market Restaurant that has an outdoor patio, and then it has a stage. So you can eat and listen to the band play jazz, and it's super cool. And then California Adventure has a similar setup. So there's just a lot of opportunity to basically sit, eat, and listen to live music. And in California Adventure, you can have a glass of wine or a beer or something too. So
nice.
Yeah.
It's like a bonus.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, cool. There was something else I was going to mention, but going back to what Jessica was talking about earlier on with her experiences with the characters and stuff. The Magic Kingdom and Epcot, when it first opened, they used to operate the same way with the characters. They were walking around. There was really no attendant. There might have been in the distance, but there was no queue lines for any of the characters, and that was that was from Mickey right down to some of the lesser known ones that used to walk around, and you just it was kind of like the honor system. And it was very rare that you got a picture of just you with the character, because when I go through old pictures of my brother and I's first trips in the early 80s, it's me, my brother, maybe 2 or 3 other kids with Mickey or with the Orange Bird. We have pictures with Friar Tuck, Pinocchio, and stuff like that. And I'm not sure when they, probably as park attendance increased, maybe they, or I know unfortunately characters were getting injured and people were not so nice about waiting in line, other kids being in the pictures and so on and so forth. So there was probably a darker side to it, is what made them transition to how they do it now. But it was definitely the same way. And I know from Disneyland fans who have visited Walt Disney World, that's definitely a perk that they enjoy having in Disneyland, that you don't have to wait in line. You can just, number one, I hear there's more characters walking around and they are just so much more accessible, which I think is awesome, because I wish it could be that way, but I understand why it can't on our coast, because there's just too many people. There's just too much going on. I don't think that they can get away with it, because I don't think they'd move traffic as well as they would like to throughout the parks. I mean, and I think they also do it because the more you're wandering around on the streets, you're not spending money, which is what they want you to be doing. If you're not on an attraction, they want you in a shop or in an eatery. So I know, Jessica said you don't, you're chasing Peter Pan around and stuff like that. Like, that's awesome. I'd love to be able to do that. That's cool, because that just adds to the experience to me of meeting the characters and having spontaneous, conversations or whatever comes out of it. So.
Yeah, one thing that's tough about that setup is that it fluctuates dramatically. If you're there on a day when it's not that busy, there are no characters around, and if there's always a setup of you get in this line to meet this character, at least characters will be there. And the Fantasy Fair is always running. Mickey's always in his house, so there's a few characters for sure you'll always see. But in terms of the ones that just kind of wander around with the cast member, because they always have like a cast member with them, but when there's a day that's not that crowded, there's nobody there. So it kind of stinks if you're going and you want to see a couple of characters and they're just not around. But then the flip side is they're everywhere. Like the best time of year, I think, to meet characters in Disneyland is right now. It's Halloween time, because all of the villains are out and they just are in every corner you turn. There's another villain. Frollo tapped me on the shoulder last year, and he scared the living daylights out of me, because he's so big and he's just terrifying. But it's just cool, because the villains don't really stop. Like, the regular characters, a lot of times they'll walk around and then they'll kind of pick a place and then a line sort of forms to talk to them, but it's not a big deal. The villains don't do that very often. They like to just walk around and basically taunt people. So that's
nice.
Really fun. Yeah, it's really cool.
That's awesome.
Like, the Queen of Hearts I don't think she's ever stopped to talk to people that I've seen. She just runs past people and shoves them out of the way. So
that's fantastic.
And Cruella de Vil does that too. She gets annoyed with you if you are wearing Dalmatian print. She gets very jealous.
That's cool, though. That's great. I can say the only characters I know that are somewhat walk around and do not have a specific line or anything are the Green Army Men when they're walking around Hollywood studios. Now, I guess always they kind of hang on Pixar Place where Toy Story Mania is, and I've had some great experiences with them. They're fun because they're covered completely. You can't see their faces. They got that green wrap all over them, and they're great with kids. There's great pictures of one of them, messing around with my daughter when she was younger, and my daughter kept hugging the Green Army Man or woman, whoever was dressed. But just even with the adults, like they've messed with me and my wife before, and so that was a lot of fun. We've had some great character experiences on ones that aren't always with an attendant and that you don't have to wait in line for. Like I know a bunch of years ago, Woody, Jesse, and it wasn't Bulls, it was just Woody and Jesse. They used to hang out on the bridge by going over Splash Mountain. Mm-hmm. And they would just kind of hang out there. I remember going and getting pictures and stuff like that. And Woody was just like a total goof. Like I'm trying to take pictures of him and my son, and he kept getting real close to the camera. He's signing the thing. He's sitting down. Like he's just totally being a goof. And it was hysterical. It was so cool. And I was like, I should probably be videotaping this. But I was like, you know what? It's better if I don't, because it's just it was just like a great experience to have with them. And I remember on our honeymoon, we were in. It happened to us twice, so it led me to believe that it was the same person as the Captain Hook and Smee used to be out by pirates. And I remember on our honeymoon, I had my groom's Mickey ears hat on, my wife had her veil one, and they just Mr. Smee just would not leave her alone. I don't know if it was a little dude in there or a woman, but just was like harassing her when we were, trying to take pictures of her. Kept flipping the veil over her head and like knocking, just same thing, just being like a goof. And Hook was, pretending to get aggravated with him, like crossing his arms and shaking his head, tapping his foot. And it was just funny. And then we saw them like later the next day or a few days later over in Epcot. They were, I don't remember exactly where they were, but it was the same thing. Like they were walking somewhere and they saw us. And you have just married buttons and all that other stuff. You're a target anyway. But same thing. Like he kept messing with her hat and messing around and like hugging her, and it was hysterical. But it's that stuff is great, but you don't get that much anymore, if at all. Except for, like I said, with like the Green Army men. So that's that kind of sucks in a way, because it's just different than just being in a line and walking up to them and having a conversation. And I know they don't rush you, but the PhotoPass people and everybody else are kind of like, okay, your pictures are done, get out. Oh, one thing I did learn on the tour that we did, which is related to characters. So the woman was telling us, for the characters, if your child goes up to a character and initiates a hug, which is usually how it works, the character is not allowed to stop the hug. So if your child wants to stand there and hug that character for 5 minutes, then so be it. Nobody will, the handlers, the attendants will not tell you to move along, will not say, okay, that's good, and the characters will embrace for as long as possible. And to my knowledge, that was not something that Disney implemented, I think she said. I think a lot of them started doing that, because the thought process is, how crappy is it if you were hugging a princess or hugging Chip and Dale and all of a sudden they just let go? They're like, all right, I've had enough. What message does that send to the kids? They're like, okay, that's enough. You can only hug me for 10 seconds. So
I think that's so sweet, though. I'm just picturing like a little kid hugging Winnie the Pooh or something, and
yeah,
I think that's so great.
Like I never thought of it.
It's totally true.
It is,
my
yeah.
My kid will hug forever. Like, I have to be the one to go, all right, Melanie, come on, sweetie.
Right. So, I never would have thought
Kylo
of that.
Ren, because he doesn't hug back.
No, he doesn't
Just in
hug
case
back.
you're wondering.
No, I can't imagine.
The evil queen doesn't either in Disneyland. If there was a little girl dressed as Snow White that went to hug her, and I've never seen someone look so disgusted. She kept trying to shove her away. It was really funny.
Oh, man. That's great. All right, well, I think that'll about wrap it up for this week. Thank you again for listening along with us and following along with us on all our social media outlets and downloading and listening to the podcast. We really appreciate it. We'd like to see a couple more reviews on iTunes, that would be really, really great. Some 5-star reviews and some comments. It's always great. Helps us out. Let us know what you like and don't like. Maybe some suggestions for future content on the show. And that goes for across any of our social media. If there was a topic you would like us to discuss or explore, opinions you would like on experiences that any one of us have done. Between all of us, we've hit a lot of different things between the parks and the cruises, and we're lucky enough to have Jessica on board with us, who is very knowledgeable over on Disneyland, so definitely reach out to us if you have any questions on any of those fronts. So before we go, I'd just like to give out our social media accounts so you know where to find us. And so we'll start with Milford.
You can find me on my blog, milfordhutzel.com. That's my Milford on the Move blog. I'm also on Facebook, same name, Milford on the Move, and on Twitter, Milford on Move.
Okay. And Jessica?
So you can find my blog at duchessofdisneyland.com. I'm also on Facebook at Duchess of Disneyland, Twitter at Duchess Jessica, and Instagram at The Duchess of Disneyland.
Very good. And Adrian?
Okay, my blog is wdwbound.com, and you can find me on Twitter at wdwbound_com, and on Facebook and Instagram at adriwdwbound.
Excellent. And as for me, you can find me on Facebook at RJ Lucia Jr. and on Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope at BlackPearl454. As for our missing members, you can find Melanie on her site at dclprepschool.com, and you can search for that same handle on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. She's on there, DCL Prep, for all your cruise needs. And for our runner extraordinaire, Crystal, you can find her on Twitter at Disney Brewing. And as far as for the Diz Explorers, you can find us on our website at thedizexplorers.com. We're on all the social media outlets. Just search for Diz Explorers. As far as the podcast, you can find us on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on TuneIn. If you like YouTube, we're also on YouTube. No videos, though. Lucky for you people. And that's about it. So thank you for listening, and we will talk to everybody next week.